Okay, so for this next project, we're going to have to prep the paper before we do any drawing. So things that you're going to need today: sketch pad, a stick of charcoal, I've broken mine in half, paper towels, and eventually you're going to need your mannequin setup. I've printed mine out just for the ease of the video. You'll actually be drawing from life. So just open up to a blank page, and you're going to pinch the charcoal between your middle finger and your thumb. You can use the pointer finger to kind of change the angle if you need anything else, but this is just kind of the way that we hold the charcoal. You're going to use that broad side. You see how it didn't immediately do a big broadside color? Just kind of did two lines. It'll wear itself down. This is going to get a little messy. That's why I have the paper underneath my sketch pad. And I'm coloring as evenly as possible. Then I come in and smear. I want to get a nice smooth application. You're going to even put a second layer on if you want to go a little bit darker. That's okay. And that is all the prep you need for this drawing. So what we'll be doing here is pretty much the opposite of what we did with the last drawing, where we just outlined the shadows. Now we're just going to outline the highlight areas, okay? And I'm just going to guess on the head size, and I'm gonna build off of that. I don't care if it ends up going off the page or not. I don't want to try and squeeze the body into the page if it's going to look bizarre. So I'm going to be drawing with an eraser, and you may have a couple different erasers set out, maybe a regular pencil eraser or the eraser that came in your pencil set, anything like that. I'm just going to use this white nylon eraser. I'm using the edge to draw in that white shape. And you may need a scratch piece of paper off to the side just to kind of clean off the charcoal so that you keep a fresh eraser. And I kind of messed up right there, so I'm just gonna trim it up with my charcoal and smear it back into place so that I get that nice tight edge. So that's the process we're going to be using. I'm going to get a couple different size erasers. I think that's going to be best for this drawing. And then I'm going to move into a time lapse so that you can see the drawing unfold without having to sit through, 30 minutes of me drawing quietly. Just kidding. I'm going to show you a little bit more demo before I move on. So I've come back with an arsenal of erasers, and they'll each serve their own purpose, okay? And I just kind of have to figure out which ones work best for where. Now, I'm not going to use the kneaded eraser until the very end. That's going to be for cleanup and brightening my bright areas so that they kind of pop out a little bit more. Let me see if I can get there. All right. What would work really, really well for cleaning up some of the dark areas would be a Q-tip. However, I can't find any Q-tips in my art room right now. So if you have that, it's really good for scooting and smearing the charcoal back into areas where you need it. So I like this one because it has a nice point on it, has a sharp edge. This, I think, the edge is just a little too rounded for me. So I'm gonna save that for big, big areas. And I'm using that edge to draw in where things are going to be. Sorry for the shaking. This table is moving as I erase. Okay, now I'm gonna go to time lapse, okay? See you in a minute. So there I have most of the shadows and highlights in place. They could be a little bit brighter. I messed up on some of my angles, like the head is tilted more up instead of tilted. So I might go back and fix that a little bit. But hopefully you noticed that as I was working, the amount of revision that was happening, that I wasn't just saying, okay, well, I've done that part, time to move on to the next part. It's very important to think about, as you include a new area, that that kind of changes the way that we perceive the other areas, and that you might need to alter something else down the line. So now what I'm going to do is just some final touch-up. And then I'm going to come in with my kneaded eraser So I'm going to open it up. Now you can leave it like this if you don't want to gunk up your kneaded eraser too much, but I think that it just adds a little bit of brightness. You can see just a very slight change that may or may not be worth it to you. And once it starts to get dirty, you just kind of stretch it out and it gets cleaner. You can kind of do this number where you're just kind of dabbing it on the surface. And that's my drawing.